Hello, everyone. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 7, Joe's Hot Takes 25. Here we go. I want to talk about something that's really kind of close to me. I'm going to try to leave my opinions out because on this particular show, we try, I say we try to ask questions, provide some research, provoke thoughts, and let you decide where do you stand on these topics, on these takes that we bring up, or that I bring up. So this one's a little near and dear to me. I'm going to try to leave as much of my opinion out as I possibly can, and I'm going to just try to present it. But today's episode, I want to talk about patriotism and that generation gap we're seeing, and we really are. And I think when you look back through history, patriotism comes in different ways. Throughout at least the United States, where was patriotism during the Revolutionary War? And where was patriotism during the Civil War? And which side of that war was the patriotism? And I think there's a lot to be said about that because quite literally, you are in a divided country during a civil war, and there are two different sides, and very similar to what we see today, a deep division between two different sides, generally over one or several topics that the country's divided over. But even in the Civil War, there was patriotism towards the country, towards the flag, towards maintaining our country in the United States. So, and then, you go through war times and you see different levels of patriotism. World War II, a lot of patriotism. Our soldiers came back. They were ticker taped and people were clapping and cheering for them. People were happy. The war was over. The United States had a very large hand in that war. And then you move into the Korean War, which we really don't talk about a whole lot. And then you move into the Vietnam War. And in the Vietnam War, what did you see? These soldiers were coming home and they were getting things thrown at them. They were called baby killers and murderers. They were treated horribly. And so we look at patriotism. Where was our patriotism then? There was little to no support for our military, little to no support for our country, and a large divide, similar to what we see today. And then as Desert Storm came around and we saw the Twin Towers attacked, we saw patriotism come back to arise. We saw American flags on cars, people wearing T-shirts or hats with American flags. We saw a lot of patriotism, a lot of solidarity, everybody kind of working together. We kind of took the noise, those little problems that we have, and we kind of pushed them aside, and we said, let's protect our country, number one. And once our country is safe, then we can deal with our internal problems. So it's really interesting. So today, you can't turn on the news without seeing some division and some hatred. And I use that word, which is such a powerful word. Hatred is so powerful. But you see this political division and this loss of our patriotism, I feel like. And so, it's just kind of weird. Why? So why? Patriotism, it just feels, when you say patriotism today, it feels tense, it feels politicized, and it feels pretty generational. And it's interesting how the American flag now can trigger reactions instead of unity. It really seems to trigger arguments. And why is that? And then you see these protests, and the protests are getting louder. They're getting angrier. They're getting more divided. We're seeing American citizens burn American flags. We're seeing immigrants from other countries flying flags of Palestine, of Iran, of Mexico, of Venezuela. We're seeing all of this happening. And But if you fly an American flag, there's something wrong with you. You're suddenly looked at as some sort of a Nazi, some sort of bad person for flying the American flag. And, I mean, part of that is, if you're so proud of Iran or Palestine or Mexico or Venezuela, then if those are the countries that you want to fly the flag for, then by all means, go to those countries. Go there. It's okay. But if you want to hold up an American flag, you should do so proudly, I believe. And it's dignified. You hold up that flag and you be proud. And you say, I'm an American, and we fought for freedom, and we fought for rights, and we continue to do that. So protesting, I'm all for it. If you want to protest, just be good about it, right? All of these podcasts, I always say, be kind to one another. Be kind. Open your mind, be curious, listen, get the facts, and then make a decision and talk about it. Just talk about it. So what does patriotism mean in 2026? What is it? And why do Americans disagree so sharply about patriotism? And what I'm wondering, is that based on age, or is it based on politics, or a little of each? I don't know. But let's dive in. Let's find out. I mean, what is the current state of American patriotism? Where is it today? Well, I can say this, in doing the research, and I don't even need to do research, we know that over the last 20 years, we've seen a decline in patriotism. I've seen posts, I'm sure all of you that have Instagram or go on YouTube or some other social media platforms, you've seen these, where they walk up, an interviewer will walk up to someone on the street and say, and I'm going to say this, it's generally younger, college age people, it's younger people that they'll approach with this and say, if you see someone walking down the street with an American flag on their t-shirt, what do you think? And immediately they say, Trump supporter, white supremacist, colonizer. Somehow we have taught our young people to associate every negative connotation that can be presented to the American flag. That's what they believe now. Not glory, not freedom, not patriotism, but the opposite. Wow, that's hard. I'm a retired police officer. My son is former military. He's actually still active in the reserve. So American flag means a lot to me. It's a sign. When I see the flag, I feel proud. I feel very proud. I feel very grateful that I live in a country under that flag, and I believe that we should respect that. That's my beliefs. Okay, so. So was this over the last 20 years, was this a sudden drop, or has it been kind of gradual? Is it cumulative? Is it cultural? What is it? So let's look at this. In late 2025, early 2026 polling, I found this information. And it's kind of sad. I'm really telling you, this is sad. 58%. 58%. That's just barely over half of U.S. adults that were polled say they are extremely or very proud to be American. I want you to grasp that for just a moment. 58% of adults say they are extremely or very proud to be an American. Just over half? That is the lowest level since Gallup. The Gallup polls began tracking this back in 2001. So what the heck? What is it? Is this learned behavior? Where do we get this? As many of you know, I have a place in Puerto Rico. And in Puerto Rico, there's a lot of talk about colonization. And I've even heard people say, well, you know, Americans are colonizers. Look at Puerto Rico. And I think to myself, well, did the United States of America colonize Puerto Rico? No, we did not. You need to go back into the 1400s and look back at the Spanish and see what happened here. So don't let's not take a problem. I think let's not take a problem or a thought process of like the negative comments of colonization and put it on America. America is just going to be barely 250 years old, and you know, a lot of these things happened long before America was even a place. And I follow history quite a bit. I'm really fond of history, especially a lot of American history in the West, because I came from Wyoming and Arizona, and I'm a Western guy. But wow, the way the Native Americans had their lands taken away. Yeah, we talk about that. Are we on stolen lands? Well, you really need to go back and really do some research on this and find out what really happened way back in the day, because a lot of the native tribes were taking land from each other. They were fighting and killing each other to take over lands, to take over different locations. So when the white settlers came in, it was just another different tribe that just happened to be much bigger, much more powerful, with a lot more technology that came in and started taking over. But it's happened all over the globe since man has walked this planet. So it's let's not point fingers. I think let's look at what's the problem and how can we unite and come together. And that really brings me to this. Let's go back to post 9/11. Post 9/11, patriotism exceeded 90%. Almost everyone, there was less than 10%, right, of our population didn't feel patriotic post 9/11. So what happened from 9/11 to today? What happened that we've seen this decline, that we've seen all of this rhetoric and all of this noise about how miserable and terrible and oppressive America is? I don't know. But this shared tragedy of 9/11 really created unity in everyone. It was really amazing, but it didn't last long, if you remember. It just didn't last long. Today, shared crisis, that's division, man. That's what we're dealing with. We have all this division. We have division over political positions and stances, of immigration, over how to handle healthcare and different things. All of this division, instead of trying to find a solution, we have all this noise, just noise. So now, I want to remind everyone that data, generally, when we're talking about patriotism, reflects emotion. Not legality, not citizenship. It's emotion that we're talking about for patriotism. And so there are those who feel this pride and this belonging, and those are cultural indicators of where their patriotism stands. I feel proud. I carry pride with me, and I love the flag, and I love our country, and I want to make it better. Okay, so you have those. But then you have another side right now that is, I hate this country. It's a terrible country. These lands are stolen lands, colonizers, slave owners. It just goes on and on and on. And so we need to figure out how to close off that noise and really get to the root of how do we bring our people back together? How do we bring our country back together? And how do we then become patriotic again together without war, but just because? So there is a clear a clear generational slope that I found. So each younger generation right now is expressing less pride than the one before. So why is that? This suggests cultural change and not really a temporary phase. This isn't just a phase, it's an actual cultural change that we're seeing. And why is that? And some of that might become, you talk about people that were born, myself, in that baby boomer slash Gen X, I guess, category. We still have memories from our parents of World War II. We still have memories from our parents or maybe siblings of Korea and Vietnam. And we certainly have current feelings and memories of 9/11 and the Gulf War. We understand that. We were here, we lived it. But how many of these newer generations, these younger generations that are coming up now, had not experienced war? They are experiencing social media and they're seeing war outside of our country, but they're not seeing what it's like for our country to be at war. And that's really sad. And I have no doubt that if our country ends up in a war, we will see patriotism come back. But it's just sad that we would have to go to that extreme. All right, so let's look at like Gen Z, the Generation Z. Those were born 1997 to about 2012. Okay, only about 41%, not even half of Gen Z report strong national pride. So many of these people grew up entirely post 9/11, right? Almost all of them are post 9/11 America. They are the first generation too that was raised fully online. They've had online access their entire lives. So they've had the ability to be fed accurate and inaccurate, real and fake news and information their whole lives. So I can see where they could be a very confused group of, I don't even know what's true anymore. I don't know what's real, what's not real. Now you have your millennials, right? Now your millennials are 1980 to 1996. All right, so the millennials, those are my children. Those are my children. And interestingly, about 58% of those kids I say, of those Americans express strong pride. Only 58%. What happened? I mean, okay, the number is definitely higher than what the Gen Z is putting out there, but it's still low. And remember, these people were around for 9/11. They saw 9/11. They saw Iraq and Afghanistan. They also lived through the recession of 2008. So where did we lose their patriotism? Where did we lose that to drop that from 100 or 90% down to 58%? Now, let's talk about us old guys, right? The old guys, the older generations, the Gen Xers, the boomers, the silents. Okay, those prides range anywhere from 71 to 83%. So much, much more. The older folks, because why? I just kind of mentioned it. Many lived through the Cold War. They have a clearer national identity. And we saw these wars, and we heard about these wars. We heard about World War II. We heard about Korea and Vietnam. We lived the Gulf War. We lived through 9/11, and we see what's happening in other parts of the world. And that drives our patriotism, that we understand the unity, the power, and the meaning of the American flag and being an American, because we've really lived through this. But it's kind of sad. I, I'm gonna I want to say this, that, and I want to clarify this, that lower pride in America doesn't mean a hatred for America. It just means that they're proud. Just they're not holding that strong patriotism that we used to see. One of the polls actually shows that 75% of young adults, 75%, are at least moderately proud of our country. 75% are at least moderately proud. So that tells me that we haven't lost it. There's still some chance to bring back our patriotism. So, all right. Now, patriotism gap and partisanism. Let's talk about partisan and patriotism. Okay, so patriotism is increasingly starting to be tied to political identity. And I mentioned that earlier. You see somebody with an American flag on their shirt or a hat, right? Immediately they are looked at as Trump supporter, white supremacist, all these negative things. And so let's look at this. In 2025, there was some polling done. And when they were asked about their patriotism, 59% of Republicans were extremely proud. 34% of Democrats were extremely proud. And of the independents, about 36% were what we consider extremely proud. Folks, that's rough. Of Republicans, almost 60% were extremely proud. That means 40% of Republicans were not extremely proud. Maybe moderately, maybe proud, but not extremely. Democrats, 34% reported they were extremely proud of this country. That means over 60%, right? 66% of Democrat voting Americans are not extremely proud of this country. And of the independents, it's virtually the same number. That's sad, you guys. Come on. Only 60% of the Republicans, 34% Democrats, 36% independents. Those numbers are too low. This is our country. We have to be proud of our country. If we're not happy with our country or the things that our country's doing, then we have to make change. And we make positive change. And we do it not by fighting, not by labeling, not by dividing, but by working together and finding common goals and working to rebuild America, to quite literally, not to take Trump's face from him, but make America great again. What's it going to take for us to do that? Okay, so here's a little thought trigger for you. When did loving our country become a partisan act? Because that's what it sounds like from what I just read. It's now a partisan act. If you love your country, you're a Republican. If you hate your country, you're a Democrat. That's kind of what the poll says. And that's kind of what I hear in the noise that I hear out there. And I don't believe it. I don't think it's true. But, should patriotism depend on who's in office? Should it matter? Should it matter if it's a Republican, a Democrat, or maybe an independent in office? Should that matter? No, that should not matter. We should love our country. We should support our country. We do have a pretty great country. I would say go back and do some research and take a look at where America stands and American citizens stand on poverty levels worldwide. And you'll find that our lowest poverty levels are far exceeding poverty levels across the globe. As a matter of fact, many, many, many people on our planet would much rather live under U.S. standards of poverty than their own. Go research that. Suddenly, when you start losing this patriotism, shared symbols start losing their meaning. So a flag or a slogan, those become tribal markers, basically. Which tribe are you going to be on? If you have an American flag on your hat, then you've made your choice. I just think that's wrong. I try not to get involved in the political side as much. I definitely have my feelings, and I've mentioned them before, but uh, I'm not a big fan of two-party politics. So I am not a fan of having Republicans or Democrats or independents. I think that we have shown how that can really divide and hurt a country. But, well, let's move on. Why do younger people feel disconnected? So that was something I wanted to know. Why do they? And I think that there's experiences, formative experiences, that include things like the Iraq War, the controversies. Some people felt that America went looking for weapons of mass destruction, found later that they actually didn't have any weapons of mass destruction, but it still toppled a leadership and brought new regime to the country. Um, some people disagree with that. Some people disagree with America's role in that. Then we look at the 2008 financial collapse. What happened in 2008 when you saw quite literally this housing bubble that popped? And it really caused problems. And a lot of people, there were a lot of people that stood their ground and said, you know what? I bought my house. I'm keeping my house. I'm going to ride this through. I'm going to keep at my job, and I'm just going to make it work. And there were just as many on the other side that said, I feel like I've been taken advantage of, and I'm going to short sale this house or walk away completely and just let it hit my credit, because 7 to 10 years down the road it'll all be gone. And that's sad, because you made an agreement, you made a promissory, you signed your name, you gave your word to a promissory that you would fulfill this loan on this home, and you walked away. And I think it's despicable and disgusting. And I'm sorry if I hurt somebody's feelings, but that's just the way I feel. And I'm sorry that I put my sorry, not sorry, that I put my my opinion in. But I'm going to try to stay away from that. But we also see the young people see this political gridlock, and they see it, they understand it. And then let's just look at what happened here recently with us. What about COVID-19? The big, some call it a pandemic, and some call it a scam-demic. So you definitely have response failures in there. How do people respond to that? And how did that divide? Today, just last night, I went for a walk on a track, a public track, outside, and there were people wearing masks. People still wearing masks. That's the impact that that others were able to put on our country over COVID-19. People are still in fear of that. Now, so you know what? Message received here. Institutions fail. I get it. Elites survive. People with money, people with power, people in high governmental office, military office across the globe, they will survive. And regular folks like you and I, we're going to absorb the costs of it. And that's the way the world is. That's not just the way the United States is. It's the way the world is. The difference is here in our country, you have the ability to be one of the elites. You have the ability to run for office and be a politician and put yourself in more political and powerful positions. You have the ability to join the military and work your way up through the ranks and make differences. So we have that ability here in the United States of America, where you don't have that in other countries. Now, so we got this whole political polarization. We've talked about it, right? This constant cycle of outrage that we see. Social media really just feeds that fire, right? It just feeds that fire, and it gets it out to the masses quickly. And you hear people arguing and yelling and screaming, and they're pushing right up to the edge. They're so mad about something But when you really sit down and talk to them and get to the bottom of it, you really find out that a lot of these folks don't even really know what they're arguing about. They don't know the facts behind any of it. So I always say, fact check, find out what's real. Don't listen to the noise of the social media. Don't listen to the noise of what the mainstream media puts out, because it's very, very one-sided. I've said it before, you can watch whichever station you want. If you want to know what the liberals think, watch CNN. If you want to know what the conservatives think, watch Fox News. If you want to know what the world thinks, watch Canadian or British broadcasting. Then you'll find out what other people think. But this two-party system, you guys, it's broken. And that has really, really pushed the lack of patriotism. And I think, a lot of these young people, they're being provided information from their high schools, from their colleges, from social media, from people they don't even know. They're taking their word and they're developing their own decisions based on that with little to no facts. So please get out there and fact check, find out what's real. So important. What are some of these barriers we see with the young folks? They feel like student debt is delaying their ability to reach their adulthood milestones, right? A lot of these young people feel like, I'm so deep in debt, how am I ever going to have a house or a car or anything else? Well, I don't want to pop this bubble. But I'm going to break the news. I did it, and most of my generation did it. So where do you think that people that are in their 40s, 50s, 60s became doctors, lawyers, police officers, military, firefighters? Okay, we all started at the bottom. We all had student debt. All of us had student debt, and we paid it off. We worked hard, and we worked 2 jobs, sometimes 3, and we paid it off. And we created our dream. We designed how our life would come out. We didn't hope for, we didn't pray for, we went out and did. And that's what you got to do, folks. You got to get out there and do it. They say housing prices are outpacing wages. Okay, why is that? You can't keep raising wages and not expect everything else to go up. Everything's going to go up. So, I've heard of people say, back 50 years ago, I could have bought property in Phoenix, Arizona for $500 an acre 50 years ago, but who wanted that desert? Okay, today it's $5 million an acre for property inside Phoenix, okay? It's perspective, folks. And 50 years from now, people are going to say, wow, if I would have only bought that property in Phoenix 50 years ago for $1 million or whatever it was, man, I'd be a billionaire right now. Okay, so it's just you got to fact check. Go back and look at how inflation rises and how it falls, how cost of livings rise and fall, and how people survive, and they do survive. In late 2025, there was a Harvard poll. It said only about 13 to 15% believe the country is headed in the right direction. That affects patriotism. You're talking about the majority, huge, 85% or more of our population, or I shouldn't say our population, of our students in this Harvard poll felt the country's headed in the right direction. Wow. And how do they even know? They're kids. So I don't know. Let's see. But that's the information that they're given by their college professors and their teachers in high school, right? Okay. I know I'm getting late here. I'm running. I know I'm almost 35 minutes in, but we're getting there. I'm going to keep going. It's going to be a little long. But what about what causes some of these shortcomings, these national shortcomings? And I think it's the raised awareness of things like racial disparities, healthcare access, criminal justice outcomes. We look at all these things, right? And maybe what we need to do is maybe reframe things a little bit. Like criticism should that equal accountability? And accountability, should that equal patriotism? Maybe if we reframe things a little bit, get people thinking a little bit differently, I don't know. But listen, social media has collapsed all borders. There are no borders in the world because social media reaches over all of them, at least in America. Now, in other countries, and you're seeing it right now in China, you're seeing it right now in Venezuela, you're seeing it in Russia, where social media is restricted. They don't have the same access that all of us have here in America. And but all of the borders from America outward have been taken down because of social media. You can see everything that's happening everywhere in the world. So the younger Americans, I think, are starting to compare systems globally. And they're like, oh, well, this seems to be a nice system. This seems to work. But it's okay. Look at social media, hear about it, be aware of it, and now I say go research it and find out what systems really do work, what works. And that's what you should work on. I'm not going to take a side. Be informed. Be informed. Uninformed, yelling and screaming gets you nowhere. I have no respect for that, nor does anyone else. Nobody's going to respect you for yelling and screaming and carrying on about topics that you've done no research on or that you have no background on. So find out what you're going to yell and scream about, and I will listen to you, but you can't yell and scream. You got to talk to me. Okay. All right. So, the flag, the national anthem, these are things that are patriotic. And these aren't partisan things. These shouldn't be things that are viewed as Republican or Democrat or independent. These should be things that are viewed as we are all together in this. We are all Americans. We all want to have a great nation with values and prosperity and opportunity. That's what we want. The flag, the anthem, those are the things that bring that. So please, be respectful, stand up, right? Put your hand over your heart for the national anthem. Say, see, I can't even think. I'm getting all worked up. Say the Pledge of Allegiance. Put your hand over your heart. Take your hat off. Put your hat over your heart, right? And respect our flag. Respect our country. It's a great country. Many people have lost their lives trying to defend this country to make it great. So let's not let that slide by. Let's keep making it great, okay? Let's stop being so emotional and yelling and screaming and crying and laying on the ground, kicking. Let's stand up, wipe away the tears, get some information, get educated, and let's find out how we can move forward. And let's be patriotic, folks. We can do this, all right? All right. They're not disengaged, right? Are non-patriotic people that don't feel this patriotism. They're redirected. That's all it is. They've been redirected away from patriotism. We need to redirect people back to patriotism. And that's when we can start saying, you know what? I don't care if you're a Democrat or you're a Republican. You're an American and you are my brother or you are my sister. Bottom line. Look, local action, national slogans, all these things, community service, these are things that will help. Problem solving over ideology. That's what I'm saying. Don't stand out there on the corner of the street and scream and yell over nothing. What are your problem solving things? What are the things you can offer to make it better instead of just yelling and screaming? Okay, that's what we need. And that will help with our patriotism, okay? So, share your civic duty. Get out there, do something. Have a purpose through contribution and work through national service programs. Do something to understand America, what America stands for, where America came from, and help us go where America needs to go, right? Don't tear us down. Don't tear down, but you need to build up. All right. Okay, so, I mentioned it earlier, right? Why do U.S.-born citizens with no direct ties to any foreign country run around with their flags? Why does someone who doesn't even know what Palestine is run around with a flag saying Free Palestine. I don't understand this. What is it about people flying their flag of Mexico saying Mexico's the greatest country? If Mexico's so great, why are Mexican citizens trying to flood across the border into the U.S.? And why are the cartels running Mexico? The government doesn't run Mexico. The cartels run Mexico. And it's dangerous and it's not safe. And that's why people want out. But it's a great country, and you're going to stand in America and swing your flag for Mexico. You should be flying an American flag saying, I want to be an American. I want to be patriotic to America because my country failed me. Mexico failed me. I'm coming to America. I don't understand this. There you go. I got some more of my thoughts in there instead of. So people, are risking their lives to come here. And we have, it seems like, if you watch the news or listen to social media, it seems like for the millions that want to come to our country, we have millions that want to go away from our country. And I say, if you want to go, go. Go. If you want to go to Mexico, go. They're not going to let you in. You can try, but you can try. Go to Mexico. Go to Canada. Go live in Palestine. Do it. I'll help you. I'll help you work out your passport needs and everything. All right. So people are fleeing other countries. Why, right? Because of government persecution, violence against women, lack of basic infrastructure, all the things that we have. We don't have a government that persecutes. We try very, very hard to stand with women and victims of crimes here in our country and protect them. And we have infrastructure, and we don't live under censorship. We have access to the internet. We have due process. Patriotism, it should feel different. It should feel good. You should be patriotic. You have a great country here, folks. You really do. Here's the thing. You come to our country, you're a guest in our home, follow our rules. That's all. Laws should not be optional. Just because you came from another country, our laws should not be optional. And you should not reject our country and our beliefs. You should embrace if you want to be here. And I'm all for it. I'm a second generation American. My father was a first from Italy. So that's not what it's about. It's about coming here and assimilating into our culture. Okay, let's see. I'm just trying to get through because I know I've gone way over. Our media, I've talked about that time and time again. You guys, do your research. I can't say that enough. Do your research and find out what's real and find out what's just noise. There's so much noise and garbage out there. Find out what's real. Find out what is really happening, and let's not hang on to the past. I can't hang on to the past. If I were to go through my life so concerned about a kid that punched me in the nose in the 8th grade, and now I'm scared that everybody's going to punch me in the nose, then how am I going to live my life? You have to let the past go. It's the past. And you have to look at where am I today and where can we go in the future. Really focus on that. Focus on that. Get your patriotism back. Fly your American flag, okay? Get out there, folks, and don't fall for all of this garbage with these paid demonstration companies that are hiring demonstrators to go out and create activism. It's ridiculous. Don't do that. Don't listen to the noise. Don't be part of the noise. Be part of the solution. Let's do this. Come on, we can do this. Wow. Okay. Look, there's some research gaps. I get that, right? There's limited transparency because there's tech platforms that, take one stance or another. And people that follow these platforms or these that don't dig through the limited transparency to really try to see what's behind it can easily be swayed to believe something. And unfortunately, what we're seeing is a sway to be against America and to not be patriotic. And I think it's terrible, folks. I really hope that everybody, you know, stop listening to all this noise. So I want to reflect this on the end here. I want to give the listeners here a challenge. I want you to take a pause. Just take a break. Just stop. Just stop. I want you to just sit in silence and reflect. Reflect on what is freedom of speech and how important is that? And how do we save that? And reflect on what is freedom of movement. I can go anywhere in the United States of America and I don't have to be stopped and checked with machine guns. I can go across state lines freely. Think about that. Think about due process. Think about how our government and our court systems operate in due process. We don't just stone people to death. We don't cut off hands for stealing. We don't hang people for what we might consider a petty crime. Okay? Pause, think, reflect. Think about it. What does due process mean to you? And what about infrastructure reliability? Think about the roads, the water, the power, the internet, everything that you have at your fingertips here in America, here in the United States of America. Think about all of that. And I want you to remember this. You can criticize your government openly here. You can criticize them, and you can still be free. That is important. So don't let that go. So, my final message. Gratitude without blindness, right? Don't be grateful for what you have. Have criticism, but without hatred. All right? So be grateful and criticize, but do it without hatefulness. And do it with open eyes. Understand. And look, make America safer. Make it more prosperous. Success at home, it really helps everybody in the world abroad. You've seen it many, many times over. And so those are the things. All right? I'm going to shut her down. I got to close out this episode, but I'm going to leave you with the same thing I leave every episode. Please be kind to one another. Be kind to one another. It's all we have. We have each other. And be kind. Be respectful. Don't listen to the noise. Don't yell and scream. Don't be the noise. Be respectful. Listen, understand, and then have a conversation back. Just have a conversation back. There's no reason to be rude, violent, no reason to be anything but respectful, kind, and curious. Curiosity is what makes us stronger. Curiosity is what makes us smarter. Curiosity makes us brave. So always fact check what you're doing. And until next time, all of my friends, thank you so much. Thank you so much. It means so much to me that you listen to my podcast, that you read my book, whatever. I love it. Thank you so much. Until next time, my friends, be well, be informed, and just stay curious.